One guy that's seen them all is Chuck Barrett, the voice of the Razorbacks. He's on the bus headed to Gainesville. They're getting pretty close to the swamp.
Chuck, we'll get into the important stuff coming up about the Arkansas Gators, but it was funny to hear Sam Pittman yesterday talk about the different hog logos that he likes to sport, likes to wear. I've seen you in a number of different ones. Do you have a specific Razorback logo that you like to sport more than any other?
I like the classic logo, I got to admit. The running hog through the A is okay, where he's leaping through the A. That's kind of old school. That's all right. But I like the classic Razorback. I like the one on the helmet. That's the one I like best. Most of my shirts have that Razorback.
It's the most recognizable logo in college sports, maybe in all of sports. When you see it, you know exactly what it is.
Well, and I think that's exactly right, and that's one of the reasons, I'll just confess, it's one of the reasons I hate the forward-facing Hogs.
There you go.
Yes!
There's a man that agrees with me.
Well, I think you've already got the most recognizable logo in college sports, so why would you want to change it? I mean, that's stupid.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
I've been preaching that sermon this morning.
No, you're right. I mean, you're exactly right. It's the most recognizable logo in sports. And every one of those forward-facing logos looks exactly alike. Yeah. All you do is substitute colors and names, and they all look exactly alike.
Yeah, Jeff Long, the man that brought us Pepsi in the front-facing Hog.
Listen, I know.
Well, that's a Nike deal. That's a Nike deal.
I know,
all
but
the Nike
that doesn't fit our narrative, Chuck. That doesn't fit our narrative.
I know.
Chuck,
I know.
Sam said that exact same thing yesterday. You've said it. So we have the head football coach of the University of Arkansas and the voice of the Razorbacks, and I think Hunter Yurchek is probably listening right now. So listen, every once in a while when we talk about something on the air, it comes to be. So maybe you'll see this press release come next week of the forward front-facing Hog has been disbanded immediately. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, I will say this. We were never called Arkansas State before the front-facing logo.
Damn good point.
And a couple of times they put that red wolf up there that looks exactly like our forward-facing logo, and they get them confused. That is one. Hey, you don't see any Alabama, Florida forward-facing logos, do you? I mean, at some point you gotta stand up for what your tradition's been about, and we're not the only one. But we've and other schools have let Nike come in and change a little bit too much. And I think the logo, when they start messing with the logo, I think they've gone too far. And I think schools need to stand up to that.
How's the bus ride been? For those that don't know, the radio crew is not traveling with the team. They are traveling by private charter this year, and by charter it means on the ground. Chuck's been on a long bus ride since yesterday.
Yeah, we've arrived in Gainesville. In fact, we're eating breakfast. I've stepped away from the table right now. And we've arrived in Gainesville. It really wasn't
sorry to interrupt
bad.
your breakfast.
Yeah, really, guys. I mean, come on. Yeah. But, no, I mean, it was okay. We slept all the way, so it wasn't bad. It'll be a little different going back. Yeah. But we made it about 19 hours, and that's about what we thought we'd do. So far, so good.
All right, so Ty mentioned, and we know the history. Every time you play the Gators, they're really good. There's only been one occasion where you didn't play a ranked Florida team, and that was in Fayetteville, and they still won that one. You're winless in the swamp. 4 times they've beaten you there. What is it, the mystique about, this team? They're really good because they always have really good players, but what is it, the mystique in this series? You've only won once since they've joined the SEC, twice all time. They've been ranked 3 times at number 1, once at number 2. It seems like every time you face the Gators, they're one of the top teams in the country. And again, this week, they're number 5 or number 6, depending on which poll you look at.
Well, because they're always good.
Yeah,
and that's the reason teams struggle against Florida. First off, for us, it's the longest trip. There's no question about that. It's a long trip. And you're going into a part of the world that you don't normally see if you're a kid from the middle of the country. And I do think that there is some mystique involved in that maybe affects teams. But I think in our case, I just think they've been a whole lot better than we've been most every time we've played them. The SEC championship game, we were good that year, and they were good, and that was a great game. And, we've gotten them a time or two, I guess, in Fayetteville. Last time, 16 beat them when Raleigh Williams went nuts. But we got cheated down here when Petrino was the coach. But it's a hard place to win. And, you look, teams from the western edge of the SEC, they don't do well in Florida at anything. I mean, we won the first 2 basketball games here, I think. We hadn't won since. Hadn't won about 25 years. So, and baseball, it was a long time before they even won a game down here. So it's just over the years, it's been a long trip, but I think most of the time Florida's just been better. And let me tell you something, guys. You spend a weekend in Gainesville, you're going to ask yourself when you leave, how do they ever lose a recruit that they really want? How do they ever lose a recruit that they really want? This is the promised land for an 18-year-old boy. And they take advantage of that. They're in a great setup, and they've leveraged it very well. I'll give them that.
Is there a lot of scenery down there? I'm assuming that's what Chuck's alluding to.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
Yeah,
the scenery's nice. Yeah.
Well, Chuck, when you mentioned that Florida's had some stinking good ball clubs when they played the Razorbacks, and I look to one position that it just kind of stands out, and that's the quarterback position. You think about Chris Leak, Tim Tebow. I mean, they have had some stud quarterback. When we brought up Danny Warfel in '95, the other SEC championship game. They've had some incredible quarterbacks that you've had to go up against. And I don't know if Kyle Trask is necessarily in the Warfel-Tebow conversation, but he is a top 5 Heisman candidate. And you're asking an Arkansas defense who's played really well at times this season to once again step up to the challenge. What kind of a challenge is Kyle Trask going to present Barry Odom tomorrow night?
Well, I mean, he's as close to an NFL quarterback as you have in our league in terms of the way he plays the position, the way he throws the ball. He's going to have an opportunity to play professionally. You mentioned a lot of good quarterbacks that they've had over the years. The common denominator with all those guys, with the exception of Trask, is they're all from Florida. It's a big state, and it's produced and continues to produce year after year after year as many Division I players as you're going to find in the country, and that includes a lot of great quarterbacks. There's such a national program now that with the proliferation of the transfer quarterbacks and, guys are going everywhere now. Trask is a guy that's come from out of state, but most of the really good players that they've had here have been Florida kids, and that's the advantage of being in a big state with great high school football. But Trask is great. I mean, he's terrific, and he's when you throw 22 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, you're good. He's got a lot of weapons, and he knows how to utilize them. And Florida's offensive line, they're going to start 4 seniors, so they've done a pretty good job of protecting him. And they don't have real good running stats because they don't have to. They throw to set up the run, and Arkansas is, they're going to have to find a way to put a little pressure on him. You'd have to put pressure on Trask, or you have to plan to score 40 points. That's the only way you're going to win.
Chuck, what I find interesting about Kyle Trask is he was a career backup to De'Aaron Keene in Manville, Texas High School. De'Aaron's now destroying teams in Miami. Kyle's doing the same thing in Florida, and there was a lot of just question marks surrounding him. He comes in for an injured Felipe Franks this last season. The offense just takes off. I just find the dynamic to be so entertaining tomorrow night that you have the former Florida quarterback taking on the current Florida quarterback. And Chuck, you know this, Felipe was booed in that stadium. I've heard you talk about that. How is that going to play into the psyche of that matchup tomorrow night?
Well, that's the story here, is Felipe Franks coming back. The story in Arkansas is Sam Pittman has COVID. Mm-hmm. The story in Gainesville is Felipe Franks is coming back to the Swamp. Barry Odom in Missouri beat Florida 38-17 in this stadium, and they booed Felipe off the field, and they inserted Kyle Trask, and I'm sure Felipe in his heart of hearts feels like they ran him off, and maybe they did. So he's going to be motivated, and I think his teammates will be motivated for him. Felipe Franks is a big-time quarterback, and I expect him to play a big-time game tomorrow night. I'll be really surprised if he doesn't. I'm not saying Arkansas is going to go out there and do anything they want to do offensively. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I think Felipe Franks is going to play a great game. I think he's going to be highly motivated. But I think Kyle Trask will be too. And both these guys are really good. And if this thing shakes out the way I think we'd like to see it shake out, it's going to be a fun game to watch, and they're going to go up and down the field. It's naive to think you're going to shut down an offense that averages 42.5 points per game. You're not going to do that. It's like I said a minute ago. You either find a way to put pressure on Trask and make him make some mistakes, or you better plan to score a lot of points. And neither one of those is easy, but nobody's putting any pressure on Trask. They've given up 5 sacks all year. And so if you're going to beat Florida, the recipe's, you better put some points on the board. Arkansas is going to have to be prepared to do that tomorrow night.
So let's talk about the story that is the headline in Arkansas, and that is Sam Pittman not being with the team. He has COVID, and he's in quarantine till the middle of next week. How do you think this team responds? I mean, there's one of two ways of going about it. They either rally around the coach that's not there and fight for him, or this thing goes south. How do you think this team will respond?
Oh, they'll fight for him. I mean, there's no question about that. And if Arkansas loses tomorrow night, it's not going to be because Sam Pittman's not here. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the not having your head coach here. I'm not saying that. They're going to be without their leader. And you look back on last week when he talked to him at halftime, down 13-0. If you watch some of those clips, he seemed to kind of calm everybody's nerves and remind everyone, we're going to be okay. And then they came back in the third quarter and they were. But, again, Barry Odom's been a head coach. Barry Odom's won in the Swamp. We're sitting here talking about how we've never won in the Swamp. Well, he's done it. Mm-hmm. He won by 21 points here. So we're in pretty good hands. He'll be fine. And, again, if Florida wins the game, it's not going to be because Sam Pittman's not here. And, again, I'm not taking anything away from his presence, but Barry Odom's still going to call the defense. Kendall Bryant's still going to call the offense, and all the players are in place. And so, they're the ones that are going to decide it anyway.
Yeah. What a wild week it's been around the league. All the games being postponed, games being moved around. Arkansas is going to be kind of the spotlight game now with Arkansas and Florida tomorrow night. After the Masters is over, I think when you just look around college football and what's on TV, this Arkansas-Florida game is going to be one of the prime selections, whether you're an SEC fan or just a college football fan.
You play in that ESPN 1 game, the main ESPN channel on Saturday night, eyes of the nation are going to be on you. Yeah. And that's particularly true this week because LSU and Alabama have been canceled. So, you want to play well. This has been a bad week in the SEC, and it kind of makes you wonder what the rest of this month is going to be like. And but here we are, and Arkansas and Florida. It's the best game in the league now, at least on paper. So you want to take advantage of that spotlight. Yeah.
So what's for breakfast this morning? You said we were interrupting your breakfast. What are we keeping you
Well,
from?
Actually, I finished. I ate quickly. We're at a place called the Flying Biscuit, and so naturally biscuits are a big part of it. I had an omelet. All
right.
And a little bit. I had some grits.
Grit, yeah. And,
you're
in the South, yeah.
Ate a couple of bites of that biscuit. Slammed some coffee. Yeah. So I'm ready to go now.
Yeah, you're jacked up. So I know you. You are ready for a big day and getting ready for the game. I would imagine with the Masters being on and you being in Florida, you're going to try to find a golf course today, if I know you. So,
well, we do have some clubs packed in the bottom of the bus.
Well,
we do have a game plan for mid-morning, and there's going to be a lot of bragging rights on the line. So that's what we've been talking about at breakfast. So that's what we've been talking about.
Who's the best stick amongst the crew there? You or Quinn or Z or
me?
You.
Me.
Yeah.
Me. And I'm sure the other guys would all say that too. But no, it's me, and we're going to win, and it's not even going to be close.
Chuck, I think
confidence goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm saying that. Chuck, I think Tommy's afraid to take me golfing because I've been telling him how bad I am, but I think he's scared that he'll have a bad outing and I'll beat him one day. So he hadn't taken me golfing.
Tommy's pretty good now.
There isn't a bad
Tommy
enough
can hit
outing.
Tommy can hit it.
Well, Chuck, glad you enjoyed your breakfast this morning. I just looked up that Flying Biscuit place, and it looks incredible. So if I ever make it to Gainesville, I might have to stop there. Yeah. So, well, hey, man, enjoy. You, Quinn, Z, and everyone else, enjoy your golf game. Yep. Obviously, enjoy the game tomorrow night. And hopefully hopefully they can pull one out. First win in the swamp ever. We'll see what happens tomorrow night.
I hope so too. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be awesome. It'd be a great treat for Sam, who's can you imagine his nerves? Can you imagine his emotions having to watch from afar? I can't. I can only imagine the roller coaster.
He's in the guest house by himself. The only living organism out there with him is his dog, and so I guess it'll be Sam and Lucy watching the game tomorrow night.
So we got Sam and Lucy, and then Muss and Swish. Yeah. Those are the two.
That's right.
Dog
That's exactly
coaching.
right. Lucy made a cameo on Coach's radio show. We did the Zoom thing from his house Wednesday night, and Lucy made a cameo on that. So he'll be watching the game with his dog.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing you and Quinn and the crew tomorrow, and you can hear the guys right here on most of these stations. You're listening to the Morning Rush right here tomorrow at 3 o'clock with the pregame, and of course kickoff at 6 o'clock. Chuck will be hearing you tomorrow.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good day.
Safe travels back.